we mentioned in the last video that when it comes to communication, Dr. Gary Smalley gives us 5 levels of communication, ranging from cliches, a little bit deeper we go to facts, and then when we get to opinions, we hit that first wall of conflict. And opinions are those things that we generally hold quite dear, and when we encounter someone who has a different opinion to us, we often switch. We go into a confrontational mode. And in that confrontational mode, it often can lead to relationship breakdown, because what happens is that conflict happens where we disagree so sharply that it means that we're not prepared to invest anymore into the conflict, into the communication, and communication breaks down. And generally that happens because we're using a roadmap, and I'm going to introduce this idea of two very different roadmaps. And the first one is the normal worldly roadmap. That worldly roadmap that says whenever I encounter someone with a different opinion, my goal in this exchange is to win. That's my goal. I want to win. And whenever you're setting out to win against someone, we call that a fight. So it's fight mode. And that desire to win means that the other person has to lose. There is another roadmap, and this is the roadmap that I would encourage and I would coach a couple through in marriage preparation. It's not the fight roadmap. It's what I might call the gospel roadmap. It's a roadmap that I believe Jesus Christ gave people. And it includes not the roadmap called fight, but the roadmap called argue. Now oftentimes when I tell a couple, I'm going to now teach you how to argue, most couples go, oh no, we do that all the time. And I generally say, you've probably never had an argument in your life. And it sounds quite almost arrogant to suggest that. But what I mean by that is that what they're calling an argument, I've already called a fight. It's a disagreement with the goal to win. But when we're talking about an argument, we're not talking about the goal being to win. We're talking about a different goal. And that the different goal now is to understand. To understand is the goal of an argument. So here's some of the guidelines, some of the principles for having an argument. Firstly, seek to understand the other person before you feel you are understood. This is not easy to do. It's going to take some practice. But if you do it, it's by learning how to deal and navigate with communication level 3, you'll be able to get to communication level 4, which is far more intimate. And surely this is the goal of your marriage. In fact, as we opened with the idea of a young man turning up at the door of someone to say, quick, get in the car, the first question the young lady may have had was, where are we going? And in fact, if you can set a course for your marriage, our marriage is that we are going to get to know each other so well that we will discover new things about each other that will cause us to love each other afresh continually. Isn't that a great roadmap? Well, here's where it begins. By learning how to understand before being understood. So it involves questions like this. Well, tell me, help me to understand how you've come to that conclusion. Help me to understand how you see this. Why do you see it that way? These are questions inviting people to help you to understand. By doing that, by understanding before being understood, you're in a better position to have your point of view heard. Not necessarily understood at this point, just simply heard. And this is where we can deal with conflict in a really positive way, in a way that actually deepens and develops the relationship. By understanding each other, you grow closer to each other, even if you don't agree with each other. You may want to press pause and replay that, because this is going to be one of the guiding principles of your marriage. I see a lot of couples who, because I don't just prepare couples for marriage, I often deal with couples that are already married, maybe for quite a few years, and they've hit a roadblock. And explain to them that when you hit those roadblocks, it's not because you've fallen out of love. It's not because your marriage is in trouble. It's actually because you've gone deeper, which means your marriage is heading in a really healthy direction. So by understanding this, that we seek to understand before being understood, we seek to be able to listen well. And in the next session, I'm going to talk about the 3 levels of listening. Because unless you can listen well, you can never understand well. So this is where I would encourage a couple to begin to practice these things. This would be the homework. In a marriage preparation session, this right now would be the homework. And when we come back in a week or 2, ordinarily, because it would take a couple of weeks for this to transpire, the homework would be, when you have a conflict of opinion, before you try to win, switch gears and try to understand, and seek to understand where the other person's coming from, and let them know that you now understand. And this is where listening is going to come into it. I'll talk about that in the next session, and I would be keen to hear when we come back how that homework played out.